England is actually nothing more than a nation of immigrants, and that it's a good job that our ancestors didn't object to immigration. Otherwise, the country which we know now would never have come into being. A very neat bit of sleight of hand is being played when this argument is advanced. What we're being asked to believe is that immigration has been a pretty continuous process for over 1,000 years, and that it is this which has fashioned our country. This is, of course, why the phrase "diversity built Britain" was used on a 50p piece a few years ago. It explicitly referred to this idea that the country had always been formed of different communities which came from all over the world. It's an enticing and, to be sure, comforting thought. Perhaps we don't need to worry about immigration after all. Maybe it's always been this way, with waves of immigrants arriving and then just melting into the country. Perhaps that really is how Britain was built.
There were also new rules for faith schools that tried to deal with religious segregation. So where religious schools are oversubscribed, more than 50% of places must be allocated without reference to faith. This was also another policy that was seen to help with immigrant integration, or that was the purpose of it. There were also extra funds for the NHS because of possible pressures on the NHS. Non-EEA citizens applying to remain in the UK for more than 6 months must pay the immigration and health surcharge, which varies depending on the visa category. Now here you can also see a bit more about the UK asylum procedure, and also the share of asylum seekers that have ultimately been successful. So here we see the main applicants, excluding dependents, for applications submitted between 2016 and 2018. And with outcomes that were known as of May 2020. And this is information from the Migration Observatory at Oxford University. And you can see the different stages in the process. So the application stage, where the asylum application is put in, then there's an initial decision. There's a possibility to appeal against the decision, and then there's the final outcome. And here you can see in kind of recent history how that breakdown has happened from initial decisions to those that were, we do see many more refusals than we see asylum applications granted during this period.
What are we to make of this? If we accept that it would be all but impossible to travel from, say, Bangladesh or Iraq to France without a passport, and I can assure viewers that this is impossible, then it is fair to assume that 98% of those people landing here between January 2018 and June 2021 destroyed their passports before boarding those boats. Why do you suppose they did this? By the way, you can be prosecuted for not producing a passport when you claim asylum. It's an offence under Section 2 of the Asylum and Immigration Treatment and Claimants Act 2004 in this country, for those who wish to know the legal position. The Home Office, though, appears to have adopted or been told to adopt a policy of ignoring this aspect of the law. In 2013, the Home Office prosecuted 49 people for this offence. In 2019, they had more or less given up on this and prosecuted just 2 people that year. Now, the figure is 0. But returning to those 98% of people landing on the shore of Kent who have destroyed their passports, why do viewers think that they have done so? It's really very simple. The Home Office has a list of safe countries and a list of countries which are dangerous for certain people, or others that aren't safe for anybody. If you apply for asylum from what they regard as a safe country, you won't get it, and they'll make efforts to send you back to your own country. So if you want to have a chance of claiming asylum successfully, you have to be coming from one of those dangerous countries. These lists change. So at one time, anybody from Syria would have been assumed to be in danger, and an application for asylum would have been likely to be viewed favourably. Then there was a time when Iraq was viewed in that way, Iran, Afghanistan and so on. Obviously, if you're claiming asylum in Britain, you want to maximise your chances. And the best way to do this is to be from whichever country is seen as dangerous and unstable. Since very few English people speak Farsi or Arabic, or are able to tell the difference between Arabic as it's spoken in Syria versus the accent in Algeria, you simply claim to be from wherever is viewed as dangerous. If you are Algerian, which is not seen as somewhere you need to escape from, you burn your passport and say that you're Syrian. If, on the other hand, the unsafe country this week is Iran and you are Syrian, then you just say that you're an Arabic-speaking person from Iran. If Sudan is rated as being dangerous and you are Nigerian, you say you're from Sudan. The very fact that 98% of those landing here in this way have no passport is to me very strong evidence that 98% of them are liars and cheats, illegal immigrants who are trying it on. If I know this, then I'm sure that the Home Office also knows it. Just as they know that it is illegal to enter the country in an irregular fashion without documents. In the description of this video, I also give a link to a news item from last July, in which it was publicly announced that the police, prosecutors, the National Crime Agency, Border Force and the Home Office had all agreed that they would no longer prosecute people for entering this country illegally. Now, it may be a coincidence that since this assurance was made public, the number of people crossing the channel illegally has more than doubled, or of course it may not be a coincidence at all. There is not the slightest doubt in my mind that the borders of this country are being breached wholesale by dishonest chancellors who enter the country illegally and then make fraudulent claims under the 1951 Refugees Convention. Nor do I have any doubt whatsoever that the British authorities are as well aware of this as I am. They are complicit in what is going on, and the only real question is why.
Now we can come to a post-Brexit situation. The UK has left the European Union, and that of course means new things with regard to immigration for European nationals. So now all applicants, all also EU applicants, need to apply for general work visas. And they need to do this, they have to have a job offer from an approved employer for a medium-skilled job or higher. They need to speak English at a required level, and they need to be paid the higher of the specific salary threshold for their occupation. And this is known as the going rate or the general salary threshold for experienced workers, which is set at £25,600. The applicant would also be able to get a lower salary if the job is in a shortage occupation or if they have a PhD that is subject to the relevant job. So if the person's salary offer is below £25,600, they would still be eligible on lower salaries of, for instance, between around £23,000 and £25,500, provided they have the relevant PhD. And then it can also be lower provided they have a relevant PhD in a STEM subject like science, technology, engineering, or math, for a job in a shortage occupation. So you can see that these salary thresholds do have some possibilities to get around them if the person has higher education or if they're coming from a shortage sector.
The many centuries that it took for the British to rise from cultural and economic backwardness to the forefront of world civilization in technology and political dominance suggests something of the difficulty of acquiring the necessary human capital. The vital role played in this process by numerous other peoples who came to the British Isles, whether as conquerors, immigrants, or refugees, also suggests how important cultural diffusion is. The Romans, the Normans, the Jews, the Lombards, and the Huguenots all contributed in important ways at different historical junctures to what would ultimately become a British achievement.
Who want to destabilise and disrupt society.
Okay, so we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. This is Sky News Today. Coming up next.
Simply what is happening. What is happening can be put quite straightforwardly, and that is we face a genocidal threat.
And I'm getting a little ticked off with people coming to live in Britain and not being the slightest bit grateful or even showing any desire to fit in with our way of life.
I think you should apologise.
If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell.